This program provides education, not advice. Sponsors pay a fee for endorsements and interviews. See the truthayf.com disclosure page for details.
This is where technology, innovation, and personal finance come together.
This is the truth about your future with Rick Edelman.
The truth about your future is made possible by Invesco QQQ. The future isn't scary. Not realizing its potential, however, could be. Invesco QQQ. Let's rethink possibility. Invesco Distributors, Inc.
It's Friday, June 28th, and oh my goodness. Well, in case you missed it, the debate last night, President Biden had a raspy voice. He repeatedly tripped over his words. He gave rambling answers. He lost his train of thought. And the punishment was swift and severe. The Financial Times headline this morning says, Democrats panic as Biden stumbles. Halting performance from president comes amid concern over age and fitness for office. The Wall Street Journal headline said, Democrats discuss replacing Biden on presidential ticket. The New York Times headline said, a fumbling performance and a panicking party. The Washington Post headline said, Democrats panic over Biden's debate performance, doubt his future. And USA Today said, sometimes it's hard to call a winner and loser in a debate, not this time. Even in his closing statement, the most scripted moment of the debate, Biden meandered. He briefly seemed to lose his train of thought. Wow. There is now a wave of panic among Democrats. The media have been quoting top Democrats all night and all morning today. And all of these Democrats that they've been talking to are calling on President Biden to drop out of the race. Most of the comments have been off the record. One Democrat was quoted as saying, quote, we need a new nominee. Another one said, quote, Biden needs to do the patriotic thing and step aside. A third said, quote, we need an open convention. A fourth said, quote, there is a higher level of panic than I've seen or thought possible. Another Democrat said, quote, he confirmed our worst fears. Another said Biden had, quote, a horrible night. Another one said, I'm very worried. Another said, quote, I'm on my knees praying that it's not too late to replace him. Another said, quote, very disappointing and disturbing. Another said merely awful. Another said, quote, Biden is about to face a crescendo of calls to step aside. Joe had a deep well of affection among Democrats. That well has run dry. Another said, quote, the man on the stage with Trump cannot win. Another said it is a, quote, disaster. It has been so bad, in fact, that some Democrats are even talking on the record. And that never happens. That's how bad this is for the Democrats. David Axelrod, who was a senior advisor to President Obama, said, quote, there are going to be discussions about whether Biden should continue. And Obama's former campaign manager, David Plouffe, called Biden's debate performance a, quote, DEFCON 1 moment. And Claire McCaskill, who's a Democrat from Missouri, former senator, said, quote, Joe Biden had one thing he had to do tonight, and he didn't do it. He had one thing he had to accomplish, and that was to reassure America that he was up to the job at his age, and he failed at that. Andrew Yang, who ran against Joe Biden for the nomination back in 2020, said, quote, guys, the Democrats should nominate someone else before it's too late. And Maria Shriver, the former First Lady of California, a member of the Kennedy family, said, quote, tonight was heartbreaking. There's panic in the Democratic Party. Wow. So, of the four topics that I said yesterday that I wanted the moderators to ask about, did they ask? Student loans, AI, crypto, and Social Security? Well, the moderators did manage to ask about one of the four, Social Security. And if you had to pick one out of four, that was the right one to pick. Clearly, The Social Security crisis is the most important of those four topics that I cited. And in response to their question, what would you do to solve the crisis? President Biden gave a rambling, nearly incoherent explanation of how he will tax wealthy Americans, while Donald Trump totally evaded the question, as he tended to do for much of the evening. He gave no answer at all to the question on how he would handle the Social Security crisis. And there was nothing of any sort by anybody about student loans or AI or crypto. But you know what? It really doesn't matter. Joe Biden's debate performance last night was so bad that is what trumps everything else. Sorry, bad use of words there. Joe Biden's debate performance last night was so bad that what he said is irrelevant. It was his inability to say it well that has captured everybody's attention. In fact, while it is pretty clear that Joe Biden lost the debate, the bigger issue, of course, now is whether Joe Biden will remain in the race. And this is where I think Donald Trump has to place himself in the be careful what you ask for camp, because it is very obvious that this could represent a significant change in the outcome of the election. In all of the polling up to the debate, Donald Trump has been in the lead. It has been very clear that if the election were held yesterday, prior to the debate, Joe Biden would lose, that Donald Trump was winning the key decisive states where that'll determine the election's outcome. And although the race is close, it appeared that Donald Trump would be the winner. And yet everybody seems to be saying that they're not happy with either candidate, that everybody is an anti-vote rather than a for vote. They're not voting for a candidate, they're voting against the other candidate. And that the only person that Donald Trump appears to be able to beat is Joe Biden. But if Biden drops out of the race or is forced out of the race, or if the Democrats merely have an open convention and pick somebody else, is that somebody else someone who many will vote for who otherwise would not have voted for the Democrat? In other words, Donald Trump may just find himself facing a candidate he could lose to. Donald Trump may find himself in a position of wishing that the debate wasn't so lopsided last night. Meanwhile, before we get to today's conversation with Tim Whitney, which is a fascinating conversation I had with him in March at our Wealth Management Convergence that I really want you to hear, I do need to say to you that today is your last chance, or at least this is the last time that I'm going to tell you about this. You have until Sunday, and this is your last chance to hear about it, to sign up for Double Vision. We have been talking about this and offering it to you for the past 2 weeks. We recorded all 18 of the sessions at our Vision conference in Austin earlier this month, and we have now recorded those videos and have posted them onto our website. You have the entire month of July to watch them, but only if you sign up to do so by Sunday. If you watch all 18 of them, and you don't have to, but if you do, you get up to 10.5 CE credits. It's just $24.99. You can watch the videos anytime you want, in any order you want. Choose only the ones that you want to watch. It'll give you the latest and greatest info on what's happening in blockchain technology, digital assets, and crypto. Bitcoin's impact on the economy, fireside chat with Michael Saylor, with Congressman Wiley Nickel, with Dennis Cristallo, the head of JP Morgan's Onyx blockchain, sessions on the spot Bitcoin ETFs, what pension funds are doing with crypto and MPT, AI and crypto taxation. Sign up now. The link is in the show notes. You have to do it by Sunday, but you have all month of July to watch them at your leisure. And we'll be back right after this with a great conversation with Tim Whitney. You're going to want to hear this.
The Truth About Your Future with Rick Edelman is brought to you by Schwab. With Schwab investing themes, it's easy to invest in ideas you believe in, like online music and videos, artificial intelligence, electric vehicles, and more. Schwab's research process uncovers emerging trends, then their technology curates relevant stocks into themes. Choose from over 40 themes. Buy all the stocks in a theme as is, or customized to better fit your investing goals, all in a few clicks. Schwab Investing Themes is not intended to be investment advice or a recommendation of any stock or investment strategy. Learn more at schwab.com/thematic investing.
Support for The Truth About Your Future with Rick Edelman is made possible by Invesco QQQ. A quarter of a century ago, Invesco QQQ reimagined how people invest by providing access to the most innovative companies on the NASDAQ 100, all in one ETF. With Invesco QQQ, investors saw all the possibilities that innovation could deliver. So what's on the horizon for the next 25 years? See for yourself. Tap into the companies remaking the future. Invesco QQQ. Let's rethink possibility. There are risks when investing in ETFs, including possible loss of money. ETF risks are similar to those of stocks. Investments in the tech sector are subject to greater risk and more volatility than more diversified investments. The NASDAQ 100 Index comprises the 100 largest non-financial companies on the NASDAQ. You can't invest directly into an index. Before investing, consider the fund's investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses. Visit Invesco.com for prospectus containing this information. Read it carefully before investing. Invesco Distributors, Inc.
Welcome back. The Truth About Your Future continues. I'm Rick Edelman.
The following interview is with Tim Whitney, the CEO of TradeWinds, from my Wealth Management Convergence Conference back in March. Join me in welcoming Tim Whitney of TradeWinds. The focus of Exponential Technologies is something that people are paying a lot of attention to. We've seen an explosion in investment categories here. I invented the first Exponential Technologies ETF back in 2015 with BlackRock. We've then seen the explosion with Cathie Wood and ARK. State Street acquired Kensho, which has a huge suite. Global X is an ETF firm that is nothing but Exponential Technologies investments. Invesco's got a whole bunch of them. This is a pretty common theme now of everybody focusing on the future, but I think we need to take a little bit of a step back and explain exactly what do we mean by Exponential Technologies. Let's start there.
That's an excellent question. I think the panel before did a great job and we dove right into AI. And I think that's the buzzword that we all hear, but let's just take a step back. Define what exponential technology is. And we all know this, we just need to say it out loud. What actually is it? It's just rising and expanding over a period of time. That's what technology can do, right? It's something that we know when it breaks, that it's a multiplier in effect. AI, again, is that buzzword. So if you take Moore's law, if you remember the semiconductor space, microchips, it was really how many transistors could you get, and having that cost, that was just a basic principle in law. And that's what the exponential thought came from. So processing power, computing power, if we take that into effect when computers first started and Moore's law came, that is something that we are starting to use now with AI. 3D printing was a really cool example of that too. Why is that an exponential technology? Because it just started with initially a couple of metals, maybe some resins, some plastics, but then it becomes 750 types of products that you can use as far as material. And now you're making cars and houses and things of that nature. Does that kind of help?
Yeah, so it's really something that is growing at the rate of the exponential growth curve as opposed to iterative. And it's all because at the end of the day, as you said, Moore's law and computing technology, the speed with which we're able to develop and deploy innovation that has never been able to be done before. If it weren't for the computer chip, nanotechnology that is making everything smaller, faster, cheaper, and that's a pretty broad array of subjects.
That's correct.
What are the leading exponential technologies then? Because there are so many different categories. In the XT ETF, for example, we've got 9 different sleeves of categories and 200 companies globally represented. Global X has 100 ETFs, highly specific, that invest only in lithium or only in water, only in you name it. And so out of that huge list, what's leading today?
Well, first let me start, why am I up here, right? What's important for me to do? Yeah, why am I here? I represent a cross-section of an independent advisor. So TradeWinds is my firm that I started, and we are under $1 billion, which accounts for 93% of the RIAs in the independent space, have less than $1 billion. Now, the money-dominated Indian space are the big super RIAs, but we represent how technology is going to be implemented for our clients. We advisors here need to know what this means and how to implement AI. I like the question before, I wrote it down. Advisors, you said how much longer will advisors be able to go? And I agree, it's yesterday. Sindhu and Ron, I'd say yesterday as well. You're gonna have to pivot. There's no doubt. I don't care if you have 10 more years or 5 more years. Exponential means it's gonna change tomorrow. And you have to learn it. You have to learn the language. So my question back to you, I'm actually interested, and then we'll get back to the question you had, is how do we as advisors become diligent and be able to talk to our clients, but also software developers? How do we speak that language? Do we use and lean on AI? Do we learn to become developers as well? That's the important question. Because if we're talking about the great wealth transfer, and I'm not a big fan of that concept because it forces advisors to go take care of the kids so we can catch the money, it's the wrong way to look at it. We have to be with the youth because the youth will inherit the rest of the planet. So we need to be able to talk on that language with the youth. The younger advisors here, there are young people here. You're the driving factor for the survivability of the wealth management space in the independent world, right? Now, that does not discount the age and wisdom of the advisors before us. And I'm right in the middle. I'm in the weird middle, right? I get to be between the boomers and the millennials. I'm right in the middle here. The wisdom of the elder advisor, you need to be able to give the humanity to the youth advisors. I think that's important. So let me just stop. Thanks for letting me preface that. But what technologies really are, does anybody hear of the global data sphere? Does anybody know what that is? That is just all of the data that is generated by the planet. And it's really hard to calculate, but it's how much data is out there. There's a range of 120 to 150 zettabytes. That's 1 trillion gigabytes.
So just to put it in context, we have produced more data in the last 5 years than humanity has created since humans have been on the planet. So we are roughly doubling the amount of data that we have every 5 years or so. And that rate of doubling is accelerating exponentially.
Hence exponential technologies. Internet of Things, that's what it is. It's everything connecting together. When you take AI, it's not just AI coming in and working with Redtail or your CRM. It's the interconnectivity of the case notes and then filing out here and then communicating and integrating with your other software systems. That's just within the wealth management space.
So would that argue that big data, which is one of the sleeves of Exponential Technologies, is itself one of the leading areas of this, that it's the creation, accumulation, storage, analysis, and distribution of that data? Is that one of the major areas you would say?
Absolutely. And that's what we need to be very adept at understanding, that we can't block them out. We have to invite that in.
And we are, at the end of the day, we are nothing but a data industry. We collect data from the client, we analyze that data, and we churn it back to them with recommendations.
And a little humanity behind it.
With luck.
So I'd like to know my client's dog's name. I really do. I think it's important to know the client's dog's name. That's the separator. That's where the robot can't take over. I think that's the important part of it.
Until the dog becomes a robot.
Until the dog is a robot. But it goes to show you how much data is being produced all the time. Jenny Johnson had told a quick story about the Apple Vision Pro. So picture this. Let's remove AI because that buzzword. Let's just set it down. Think of it like this. That Apple Vision, if you haven't had a chance to do it, go make a schedule to do it. You put your ski goggles on, it's got 10 cameras around it, so you're blind, but it's showing you a live stream in real time right here. And then, because you're seeing a computer screen, you can open up a photo or the internet or play a music video. That is how you're going to start talking to your clients. It's not Zoom anymore. There is no camera coming. You're gonna all have your goggles with your battery pack or whatever it's been evolved to, and you're going to be able to bring up their screen with their accounts. You're going to be able to show the markets. We can pull Rick in right here of a video right in the middle and expand it and contract it.
That's also the elimination of big screen TVs in your living room.
Absolutely.
And also, when you walk around the room in your living room wearing these, your perspective of the movie changes so that you're not just sitting there looking at a screen. You can walk around as though the movie was 3D in the center of the table, and you can walk around the table changing your perspective. Different people watching the same movie will see different things. The same way people going to a football game see different things depending on where they're at in the stadium. So all this is here, really, not just coming, but here.
So I'm interested here. How many people, by show of hands, are ready to embrace the technology? Hands up. Yeah, I was pretty kind of halfway. I don't know, maybe yes.
Well, you raised a dawning question about, do we need to become programmers? Do we need to be able to talk the language of the scientists? And if the answer to that is yes, we're in trouble, because that's not who we are. We are not those kinds of people. We're not wired that way. That's why we're financial planners, quite frankly. It's why we're CFPs and not CFAs. We're more interested in the human side of money than the numbers side of money.
So challenge to you. We were stockbrokers back in the day. Well, I wasn't. I didn't come out as a stockbroker, but we were stockbrokers, and then we moved into this holistic planning, and then we became with the standards of the CFP and what we started to do. Is that just not an evolution of what our industry is?
No, I don't believe it is.
Okay.
In the sense that, yes, we are using the tech. Just because I'm sitting in the airplane doesn't mean I need to learn avionics. So I think what I need to have happen is that the tech is adaptive to be able to include me without me having to learn it. And that's when we know that a technology has truly achieved breakthrough level. And this is, for example, the comment that I have about crypto, that you know when a technology has reached escape velocity, where it has truly become mainstream, when people start talking about what it is instead of talking about what it isn't. For example, in the world of crypto, you hear it all the time, that it is permissionless, that it is trustless. Don't tell me what it isn't. Think back to the horseless carriage. We don't call them that anymore. But that's what they were originally called. They described an automobile by what it wasn't. It was horseless. Now we describe them as automobiles, and that is when it reached escape velocity, and suddenly automobiles, there were more of them in New York than horses.
So would you agree that the panel before did precisely that?
Yes, absolutely right. That it isn't, and Sindhu did a great job of really articulating it, that it isn't our obligation or requirement to be able to speak the language of the tech. It's the tech's responsibility to interface with me in a way I can interface with it. We're not really there yet in a lot of cases with technology because it remains difficult and cumbersome to use and therefore threatening. Because we do want to get there, but the effort to get there is daunting considering the pressures we have in operating our practices every day and our clients who are the slowest to adapt, right? How hard was it to get a client to be willing to do a Zoom call as opposed to face-to-face? And how many clients are we willing to put on those damn goggles?
That's right. I think the adaptive nature of clients is much different than the adaptive nature of advisors.
Well,
I
it's
think
that weak
advisors,
link in
you're
the
gonna have
chain
to-
thing, right? If the
We're gonna
client
have to
isn't
push it.
willing to do it, then the fact you are is irrelevant.
Right, you're not going to mail the Google goggles or the Apple goggles to somebody and they're going to push it, but we can't be afraid of that. And that's where my firm, much like the gentleman before, he's a really good job of owning code. We try to own our own data too. I think that's a power that advisors do have, that RAs do have. You actually do drink in your data from your provider, whoever it is, First Clearing Corporation or Schwab, LPL, whoever they are. Ask them for your data. Now, ownership aside, that's your own conversation you're going to have, but you need to be able to ingest that and do something with it. If you put it on your own local server and you have a software dev team that comes in like he has, that's great. We have ours inside as well. We get interns from UNC Chapel Hill that are coders. I don't learn the language. I can speak enough, just enough to be dangerous, just so I can talk back and forth. That's my job. I'm the translator, but it is imperative to be able to have that data in and be able to build around it.
Everything is now technology, and so your portfolios have to be built of the future, not of the past. It's what I call the Kodak moment. That was their big brand in the 80s, giving yourself a Kodak moment. Well, in 2012, Kodak went bankrupt because Instagram emerged, and all of a sudden film photography was dead, and it's all about digital photography, and these big behemoths couldn't
pivot.
Right, pivoting is dead. We talked yesterday with Jenny about the new PwC survey that 40% of CEOs say they're going to be out of business if they don't pivot over the next decade.
I just read an article that just came out in RA Biz that 700 people from Fidelity were laid off to make room for new people that are client-facing and technology sound and driven.
Which is exactly in sync also with the PwC survey that said they're all laying off 5% of their workforces internationally, but they're not having a reduction in workforce. They are rehiring people tech-focused, and they are now demanding that their people have technology understanding in order to be able to do their jobs.
So should we all now start to speak the language? That makes sense at this point, I think.
We need, if not be able to speak the language, we need one hell of a good translator in the practice. So you had mentioned medtech, agtech, fintech, edtech. There's also insurtech. You've actually built a company in that space. Talk about insurtech.
Okay. Life insurance, annuities, long-term care. It is a behemoth industry. It is a chain knot of the planet. There's so many people involved. There's so much data. It's convoluted and lost as you're trying to translate it. When we try to pull up a simple annuity contract or life insurance contract and long-term care contract, we see a very, very small subset of data, 7 to 8 data points. And most of it is a contract number, some basic principles, a death benefit, maybe a fee, what they're being charged, but that's about it. The funny thing is that the source of truth data file from your Prudentials and Pac Lives are rich with data, thousands of data points. If for some reason it doesn't come down the pipe to us, and that's when we built a company as a side to try to open up the channel of data. So we called it Zuul based upon Ghostbusters, for those who remember Ghostbusters, the gatekeeper of information.
Like the Antichrist.
We're not trying to be the Antichrist of the insurtech space, right? We thought it was fun. We got to name our own company. Zuul was kind of hip. And Gozer's the name of our processor, by the way. But the point is that we had to literally step in and build our own company because the system isn't going to change.
What's the incentive for the insurance company to release the data?
We are making a lot of people angry, that's for sure. The insurance companies, they don't care because they're already providing the data. In fact, they are pigeonholed by these big data network traffic providers right in the middle. DTCCs of the world and the DST fan mails and visions and things like that, they control the data flow, or they do a direct link, and they are paying gobs of money to use these network traffics, these highways. Well, Zuul wants to get right in front of that. And we want to take it and distill it and make it a singular, repeatable process that's for the advisors.
So the fact that you're building this as an advisory firm with under $1 billion in AUM
That's correct.
would suggest that it doesn't require an IBM to create Watson. The technology is available, inexpensive enough, accessible enough, programmers readily available as well, that even a small RIA can home grow this in a way that in the past that could never have happened.
That's correct.
You know, it used to take NASA to go to the moon, and now NASA hired a private company to go to the moon.
That's right. Moore's Law, if you're thinking theoretically, if things are getting faster, and obviously there'll be a breaking point where you can't put in number of transistors or tech on a microchip because the actual plane is going to be too small. But we need to be able to invent and create inside of the RIAs as well.
So the message really is, don't assume you got to sit back and wait for someone to build it. If you see a need that you've got and there isn't a product off the shelf that meets your needs, build it. You'd be surprised that it's doable.
Well, are we all kind of entrepreneurs in that sense? Most advisors here, you have that entrepreneurial spirit, at minimum the gift of gab, and you would assume that you would have some good feeling behind it, some humanitarian part behind it.
If you succeed, you're going to have a cool new service product for your clients. If you really succeed, you now have a business that you're going to be able to market throughout the industry. How much of an investment would you say this is all in? Is this something that is a 6-figure, 7-figure investment, or is it something literally could be a side project when you're just goofing around?
It's a bootstrapped effort at about $100,000 just to get the technology up and the code written.
That's not a significant
It's not
amount
bad
at all. Final thoughts, Tim. What's your takeaway, walk-away advice you'd give to the advisor?
Sure, I think a big part is to really look at your infrastructure, look at owning your data, or what does that mean? Really take a good view of your firm. Also, what your plan is to educate and learn. Take the DAC FP license and certifications you can get. The education and certification makes sense. You have to continue to push that. At your age, it makes no difference. That's a cop-out. For youth, saying that you can't get ahead because of your youth is a cop-out. Age, I can't progress because I'm landing the plane in 5 to 10 years is a cop-out. Just keep moving forward. I would say that's it.
That's Tim Whitney of Tradewinds. Thank you, Tim.
Enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
How should you think about Bitcoin? Turn to a specialist. For 6 years, Bitwise has been helping investors access crypto. Bitwise manages the world's largest crypto index fund. They also offer 6 crypto ETFs. You get cutting-edge insights, expert Bitcoin research, and a nationwide team to help. Bitwise helps investors and advisors navigate crypto with confidence. Partner with a specialist. Look for ETFs backed by Bitwise. BitwiseInvestments.com. Carefully consider the extreme risks associated with crypto before investing.
I'm glad you're with me here on The Truth About Your Future. If you like what you're hearing, be sure to follow and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, YouTube. And remember, leave a review on Apple Podcasts. I read them all. Never miss an episode of The Truth About Your Future. Follow and subscribe on your favorite podcast app. I'll see you next week.
How do advances in science, technology, and medicine translate into investment opportunity? Listen and learn.
This is The Truth About Your Future with Rick Edelman.